Alright guys, we are back for the grand finals. Arianel and King Dans are going to be going at it for $1,500. Now it's no coincidence that these two are meeting in a grand final. These guys have played competitive Faeria for a long time. Arianel is a monthly cup champion. Also, King Dans has come very close to becoming a monthly cup champion. I believe he's lost to his own teammates in the past, which is a little unfortunate. Now, Cappuccino, who's going to take it?
Well, okay, I have a little bit of bias because I've played a lot against King Dance in the past, and he's playing yellow events, and I really like his list. So, I'm kind of rooting for King Dance to win, but, as you point out, Arianel's won before and a very top-notch player. So I think what we have is two very strong players, and, I'm kind of rooting for the yellow deck to win from King Dance.
So yeah, this could go either way, guys. It's very hard to call who will take this. Both are very strong players, but they're going to definitely put on a show for us. Looking at the bracket here, this is how the day has unfolded. Sunkichi losing to Minokaro, taking 4th place, and Minokaro taking 3rd place, winning $500 and $100 each. We've had some bounties claim as well. Humu taking a $100 bounty from Kumpel Kefa, and we also have King Dan's already claiming $100 from Arianel's teammate. So this could be revenge for Arianel now. Taking Mayhem's bounty is going to take the tournament from Dan's. I think we should just get right into it, unless you have anything else to say.
Yeah, just looking at the bracket again really quick. King Dance actually has lost fewer games than Arianel. So just looking at the bracket, King Dance with slightly better stats. Maybe that's the little bit extra he's playing that can put him over the edge.
Dan's min-maxing his tournament results there with those good stats. But yeah, Dan's could be the favourite on paper, but Arianel does have a victory already, and I'm sure he is hungry for more. So we're going to throw it over to the casters. Scorch and Atmaz, take it away.
All right, thank you very much, Aquablad. A great setup there for our grand finals, King Dans versus Arianel. Joining me in the finals instead of the regular 3rd place match slot here is Atmaz. How are you doing?
Hello, Scorch. I know what's going on. What am I doing in the finals? I don't know. But as you just mentioned to me, this is a rematch, a redo of the quarterfinals during the last monthly cup. King Dans and Arianel both met each other. In that case, however, Arianel went on to win 3-1. As we know, Arianel was top 4 last month. By the way, Arianel, the only top 4 player remaining from last month that is in the top 4 this month.
Yeah, it's very rare to see. It's actually also very interesting. I was just looking back through the previous finishes with that 3rd place last month for Arianel. He also finished 1st, winning the March finals. King Dans, as they just mentioned there, has come very close, finished in a 2nd and 3rd place back in November and December, respectively. So if King Dans were to win, take 1st, Arianel taking 2nd, that would actually complete the top 3 finishes for each of these players, giving them an individual 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
My goodness. Scorch, the data you gather is just my favorite thing. That's my favorite thing.
Toss out these little tidbits of information throughout the course of the day.
I mean, we've gone through a year. This is a year of monthly cups. At this point, all these players, a lot of these players have met each other before, and there's stories between them all. I don't think any of them really hold grudges against one another. Everyone seems to be getting along, which is kind of unfortunate for hype concerns because we love them to trash
a little bit
each
of
other.
rivalry in there if they were butting heads throughout the course of the monthly cups. But
yeah, that would be nice. But instead, we have a friendly, a lovely competitive game here. Grand finals. $2,500 on the line. We have already begun. King Dans versus Arianel. Both players with yellow decks, event-based yellow decks that they're going to open with. A little bit, somewhat of a mirror match here. I think we're going to find some subtle differences in these decks here. We see 2 columns trainings from Arianel's starting hand, for instance. That's something you don't really want without a creature on board.
Oh, Time of Legends is a beautiful pickup. Yeah, like you mentioned, Arianel's hand was looking almost disastrous at this stage of the game. No early creatures to play when your opponent is getting that tempo out onto the board. But now with Time of Legends picked up, he'll be able to pull Kaleem out of the deck, and that'll be very important to get this collection going on the far side.
Yeah, clutch draw there, the Time of Legends, and not only just a creature to play, but one of the best creatures in his deck, the Column Sky Prodigy. He's going to be able to harvest, it looks like, at least once, double harvest once. There's no Last Nightmare in hand for King Dan's, and even if there was, oh, look at that, the
Really
play against the
nice.
Choking Sands, I love it.
Yeah, Area now realizing in that situation how important Kaleem is to keep a creature out onto the board, and the power that Kaleem provides over the course of the game. Goes for the Kaleem's training, which, doesn't provide anything right now. Kaleem already has flying, already has charge, but that +1 is insanely valuable in this situation to play around Choking Sands when your opponent can't play Last Nightmare. It's going to ensure that Kaleem gets at least some value before any type of contest from your opponent.
Yeah, really heads up play. It just speaks to their experience. And of course, we know King Dance doesn't have a Choking Sands. That we know that he didn't need to do that. But Arianel is playing against all contingencies, and that's what you need to do when you play at the highest level of Faeria. Now, King Dance gets a
Ranger,
second.
but
Yeah.
we'll have to see if he goes for the second Campfire as well here. Fnatic played just to get another creature on the board, and now not playing the Campfire onto those creatures. Arianel does have the Soul Drain. That's just kind of a little bit awkward coming up from King Dan's of I need more creatures onto the board to deal with wherever this Kaleem goes.
Just a dancing Fnatic. Just put him down. He's already jumping around. Just putting more weenie type creatures on the board in range of Soul Drain, but of course it would have to be 2 Soul Drains because there are 2 in range. So I think he's just playing a little bit of giving himself a little bit of insurance against such a play. But still, yeah, a little bit odd, a little bit of an odd opening. I think Kaleem here is certainly going to move down and harvest, and that's when he could use that Soul Drain. Is he going to put, of course, doing that, he knows he puts himself in range of the Fnatic, which of course puts him in range of being finished off by a Wind Soldier, which would not be great. So there's no Campfire for Kaleem either, unless...
I would not have been surprised if Arianel had played the Origin Fnatic in front of his own orb and moved Kaleem back, but is going to go for the aggressive play there. Even if this gets cleared, he says Kaleem's already done a bit of his job, is going to be able to clear this off. It also uses up a Wind Soldier from King Dan's as well, so maybe you just know that removal is gone later down the line, and you're comfortable with just a reset of the board at this stage of the game.
And Arianel chose not to make land last turn, which means after Kaleem is destroyed here, he's at the land disadvantage, so to speak. It's going to be a couple turns before he's able to be within range of the opponent's orb. In the meantime, he's going to have to defend against this 5/4 Outland Ranger, which is actually a pretty big threat. He could deal with it by putting an Outland Ranger of his own, but either way, he's probably going to need to spend a Campfire or a Columns Training to be able to deal with this Ranger.
It does have the possibility to go for the training instead of the Campfire of the Outland Ranger there, but does have the possibility here of Outland Ranger, and then you'd need +1 off the Faeria wheel, but that really, again, limits the land development coming out from Arianel, which was the point that you just made in that last turn there.
Yeah, he started off really strong. I think that having the column there on the right side really put him in a good spot. But he's going to go ahead and do we see a training? I mean, he hasn't used his Faeria wheel yet, so he could use Outland Ranger, like you're saying, plus the Campfire. He has the option here. I think that's what he's considering. What do you think here? Do you waste the columns training or do you pop the Campfire?
I think I like Campfire because it also gives you the Ranger. No matter which way you're playing, the Fnatic is going to die off to the side there, but the Outland Ranger just represents getting another creature onto the board, so whatever King Dan's ends up playing here, if he has another follow-up onto this side, is going to be able to be cleared by the Ranger. And now we see a Choking Sands come out from King Dan's, and both players, again, continuing to reset the board.
And Arianel does have a creature on board remaining, but it's outside of Faeria harvesting range, unless he uses that Columns Training just to move that Ranger to a harvesting position. Now it ends up costing 0 the first turn he plays it, but it opens him up to Soul Drains. The Soul Drain would have even more value if it removes something with Columns Training on it. Other options do include just playing a Columns Follower and getting a Faeria that way.
Yeah, you can either use the training or the follower. You realistically could use both and gather off of the wells here. I think Arianel's in a tough position of whether he starts to develop more lands up, maybe the right side of the board, or you go for card draw at this stage of the game. You need another desert at some point for the last Nightmares, but I think until you're in a position where you think your opponent could put a Colossus down, you don't really worry about the last Nightmares coming out. So the slow play does continue to be probably the correct line at this stage.
Arianel still so reluctant to play any lands. 3 is enough for Arianel. No more is needed. Do we see one this turn? Oh, you know what he could do is move over here and then double basic to get a little bit closer. Nope. Gonna see the right side? Oh, who knows? We can't call it this early.
I think even just double neutrals between the wells and then get your follower in there, just because that one creature of the one life is so inefficient for your opponent to ever deal with. Even a Soul Drain, you only recover 1 Faeria. The 4/2 of the Outland Ranger looks decent enough to clear off a Charger, or the Demon that we now see picked up in King Dan's hand can't come down in a safe enough position. And the follower collecting off on the right is going to be so much Faeria for Arianel. And Wisdom in this list is actually really good because Arianel does have that little bit of tempo advantage.
And what you're seeing here is the remaining effects of that column who hit the orb so many turns ago. This is his follower who remained in hand, and yes, is in this double harvesting position on the right. This demon, this Shaitan demon, is really not an ideal creature for King Dan's to have to play against this 4/2. Arianel will happily trade that off. And meanwhile, this follower harvesting, wisdom, gaining the card advantage that he's going to need, and even further cards like Soul Pact to boost him up into some sort of value. But there's a problem. None of the cards he drew, Arianel drew, are really big and beefy and will remain sticky on board. Ooh, a mistake here, a misplay. Did he do something he didn't want to do?
Could have gone for the Soul Pact first, generate that extra bit of Faeria, because then the Soul Drain would have recovered his life back up that Soul Pact reduces it by. The damage that you would deal to yourself off the Soul Pact immediately gets offset, but going for the clear there with the Soul Drain Wind Soldier onto the Demon instead of using the Ranger. Actually, Cappuccino in our chat just pointing out that saying your oops, that was an error type of situation reveals to your opponent what that card probably is in your hand.
Yeah, what other mistake could there possibly be other than you didn't min-max your health and hit yourself first before you're healing yourself? So you might have tipped his hand off to King Dan's. Not that it would be a super big surprise, but when you have one card in hand, it's pretty significant to know what your opponent has. You don't have to worry about Last Nightmares, for instance. Anyway, we did see King Dan's drop a Wind Charger next to face, which is quite a rare play, I have to say. I haven't seen that too often, but it has happened. Arianel has the option to hit face himself this turn. Look at all those last night big expensive cards in King Dan's hand. Not really ideal, I think, for the situation he's being dealt. He doesn't want a Last Nightmare, a 2 health creature. He'd love to have a Soul Drain, a Wind, a Charger, a 3/1 would be great right now. None of that in hand.
Yeah, a little bit of an awkward position from Arianel as well. You almost never want to play a Shaitan Demon this close to your own orb. You almost always want it in an aggressive position. We're going to see the Campfire also reinforce this Ranger, so now it won't be a Soul Drain. It'll have to be Wind Soldier that takes care of that, but we'll have to see what King Dan's goes for here, just because he is still in a really awkward position. There's the Wind Soldier picked up, so that'll cancel out that aggression. I would expect we also see the Flash Wind, so this Charger can clear off the Ranger, and actually Fnatic looks like even better of a play there.
Yeah, I can see that Flash Wind for a turn when he wants that extra damage from the Charger. Now he's in the aggressive position with now we have a Shaitan Demon in a defensive position for his opponent. So yeah, going to be taking 2 damage each turn until that's dealt with. And you know what? He could just be really funny and just never deal with it and let Arianel chip himself away with that and his Soul Packs. What a hand for Arianel. It's just he needs beef. He's got all this value, but all he can do is just play a 3/2 Ranger. And these Soul Packs just can't find a target. He wants to draw a Colossus.
Yeah, definitely in that situation. Again, the Demon just in no man's land, sitting in front of his own orb. These creatures that King Dan's have can just kite around the limited movement of the Demon here. Another Outland Ranger picked up from Arianel could come down, could Campfire itself, but you're really losing value against everything that King Dan's has, and King Dan's now in a position where, with the Flash Wind in hand, he could reset over to the other side of the board with the jump of the Fanatic and clear off that creature, clear off the demon if he chooses to, and regain board position here. Just Arianel not being able to find the aggression that he needed in the time when he controlled the board.
And this Flash Wind, although it destroys a 0-cost creature, it ends up being a net gain of so much Faeria because that double harvesting is finally shut down. The demon he does end up destroying with his 1-health charger because, you know, a 1-health charger is a pretty risky unit to leave out on the board. It's just a soul drain away or whatever from being destroyed. There's the first Colossus of the game. It's been in King Dan's hand since the very beginning. And he's right next to the face.
Yeah, and you know, showing off that movement there, using both Flash Winds, ended up quad collecting, 3 of them coming just off of this Fanatic in order to get to the discount and then play that Colossus down that turn. Arianel picking up 2 Chargers now can be very good on the upcoming turn to combo in and clear off the Colossus here, but you really wanted a Last Nightmare there to take care of it.
These Chargers are not when Arianel wanted them. These are not late game, what you want in late game versus a Colossus. You want to open with these ideally. It's going to be tough to block this Colossus. What you're probably going to have to do, I suppose, is just body block with the Outland Ranger. Hope there's no movement tricks or just destruction tricks for the Ranger itself. Drop your Chargers elsewhere. Wait for the following turn when you can use them to clear the Colossus a little bit better. You don't want a Colossus hitting a 2/4.
Yeah, we are going to see both Chargers played. The Outland Ranger just going to body block from the Colossus here, but another Colossus picked up, and King Dan's just going to accelerate with these Colossi on the upcoming turns. Even if he has to clear off the Ranger here, it's just so powerful to go Colossus in this type of a situation.
And just that 2/4 getting hit by the Colossus is such a loss in value. Yes, you know, he's preserved his life a little bit longer by drawing the Colossus away. Colossus can only move 1 tile per turn, so without a Flash Wind, he's stuck there, but that's just such a loss in value against that Colossus. It's already paid for itself. Look at this. Last Nightmare on a
Last
Charger.
Nightmare losing 3 Faeria value on a Charger, but denies your opponent from collection, continues to allow you to have this Fanatic over on the side for your own collection. So that loss of Faeria value on the 1 card is going to be more than made up for with the protection of your own card there.
And the Colossus, the last thing I expected the Colossus to do would be to move into the double harvesting position, but that's what we've seen. He put his own, with a Flash Wind, mind you, put his own Colossus out of range of the Ranger to have it live a little bit longer and gain that value over time. Going for the absolute most control type play you could go for when you had the opportunity to slam the face just to turn away.
And now we do see a Soul Pact picking up a little bit of value there, giving Arianel the extra Faeria he needed for a Last Nightmare, but we're going to see another Colossus come down, and they are 5 cost, and the removal of Last Nightmare is 6. So each time you're losing 1 Faeria on a board when you're already behind. So very awkward for Arianel to catch back up into this game. Now, one of the nice things is maybe he's able to find his own Colossus, and they'll be 5 cost as well, but he needs to recover the board state before he can really start to turn the aggression back in his own favor.
Yeah, and if you look at this game, like if we rewind about, I don't know, 6-7 turns ago, it was Arianel who was on the aggressive, who was on the forward leaning foot, and now he's got the second Colossus placed next to his face. King Dan's, he has 2 jumping creatures in double harvest position. All Arianel has is a single Outland Ranger to defend himself. He's got 5 Faeria and a little bit more with that Soul Pact. But as time goes on, his health ticks down. Here comes his play. He is going to Soul Pact into the Last Nightmare to deal with that second Colossus. He has no more Last Nightmares in hand. Flashwind will take care of one of the double harvesting creatures, but King Dan's has 1 remaining, and at 4 Faeria, he is at the advantage.
Yeah, now this does recover a little bit for Arianel. He's able to use the Wind Soldier probably in a good way next turn to clear off the Fanatic, if that was the only creature coming down. But King Dan's does find the Shaitan Demon, and we finally see a Colossus picked up for Arianel here. Now, is a very close race at this spot. Arianel currently sitting at 14. He's going to go down to 9 next turn because King Dan's pulled back defensively with that Fanatic, and that's going to tick King Dan's life down to 9. That means if Arianel goes for a Colossus on this turn in a position where it can go towards the orb on the next turn, then it's going to be that 7 damage, and then another production burn from the demon will actually be lethal unless King Dan's finds these Soul Drains in time. Does have 1 in hand, but I'm not sure if he's used any others throughout the course of the game here.
There's a problem that Arianel doesn't have land too close to the orb. So even though it does have -3, he won't be able to play get the 5 Faeria and get that Colossus next to the opponent's orb to threaten that lethal. So instead he has to defend with it. He did have no choice there. And here comes the last nightmare on the first Colossus that Arianel finally drew. 5 damage taken to face. But meanwhile, King Dan's is ticking down to 7, and it's not entirely impossible for a yellow deck like this to pull out 9 damage really quickly.
Yeah, it definitely is true. Soul Drain can recover that life, like we saw earlier. Arianel doing a little bit of the wrong sequencing when he went for that play, but really nicely by King Dan's as well, covering both of Arianel's deserts here. So no matter what the play could be in those type of situations, you're just not allowing your opponent to play those creatures. You force them to develop a land rather than going for extra draw or extra Faeria.
Whatever happens, we're certainly in the final turns of this game, because 2 damage per turn being dealt to King Dan. They're already below half-life. Here comes a Soul Drain. Ooh, from Arianel to take care of that 3/2. Yeah, putting him at 11. King Dan's at 7. 7 is even closer to the range where you could just get a loss out of nowhere, but Arianel needs a unit on board. He has nothing on board. What will King Dan's do? Let's just see what he does, because I couldn't possibly predict.
Yeah, that kind of looks like a situation where Arianel could have developed like aggressive lands on that past turn so that you could then play a desert right near your opponent's orb. Like you talked about, he doesn't have those aggressive lands right now. And that would actually be Wind Soldier next turn, and you're very close to your opponent just having the demon burn them out. But it just looks like it's not going to quite be enough for Arianel. King Dan still having this Shaitan Demon just do so much work where he played it aggressively, and Arianel's Demon that we saw earlier was played in a defensive position, just able to use it so much more efficiently in that way.
And a 6 damage Shaitan Demon that was campfired next to Arianel's face. The only option he has is now, if that campfire were not played, that Wind Soldier can clear it this turn. That's really significant. So another heads-up play from King Dan's, putting it out of that Wind Soldier campfire range. I guarantee you King Dan's knew about that campfire remaining in Arianel's hand, so he calculated that for sure. And at this point, Arianel has... is there any way for him to stop the lethal here? He has a flash wind. No, it's just passes the turn, down to 5 health, and King Dan's takes game 1 in the grand finals of the 12th ever monthly cup. Well done to him. That mirror match is over, and Arianel can no longer use his yellow event deck. He'll have to switch to something else.
Yeah, very impressive showing from King Dan's there. I'm not sure if it goes all the way back to like Arianel not getting enough value from Kaleem in the early game, or the sequencing of draws throughout the mid game, or if it really was that one big movement combo turn that King Dan's was able to put together to reset the board in his favor, was just so beautifully executed in that situation. And just King Dan's able to bring the game back in his favor when it looked like Arianel had a good setup and take game number 1.
Yep. And you know, the funny thing about today is that we don't know a lot about King Dan's remaining decks because he keeps winning games. The fact that he refuses to lose a game means that we don't see the rest of his decks on stream, at least. Arianel, we've seen play Blue Jump, at least I know, and we're about to see... Or not really, I don't think it's Blue Jump, actually. Yeah, it looks like just blue, mid-range type blue. with
Yeah,
Mirror
it's
Phantasms even.
kind of what Blue Jump has now turned into with the trainer nerf. There's a couple cards that still remain. We've seen the kind of debate throughout the course of the day of Archons having the spell whirls in there, or how big you want to play the deck if you're running Mirror Phantasms or just Colossus as your big end game. Yeah, like you said, King Dance has 2 straight 3-0s in the semifinals and in the quarterfinals. In fact, 3-1s in his first 2 matches. So if Arianel were to bring this back and win this series, he will hand King Dan's more losses in this match than King Dan's has had throughout the rest of the monthly cup. So it really kind of up against the wall, just King Dan's showing off why he is considered, whenever he's in a tournament, to be a favorite.
Yep, not a single 3-2 for him today, all 3-0s or 3-1s. The opener for him looks like he's going to have a Harvesting Shaitan Demon, which is going to cost him a little bit of health, but as we've already demonstrated, it's not such a huge deal. Alright, on the other hand, has a Triton in harvesting position, but now, due to that Shaitan Demon placement, King Dan's will be able to get a trait in his favor for 1 less Faeria. So does he choose instead to move to the right and start double harvesting from there? That to me seems a little bit more logical when your opponent's going to be paying for that demon in health every single turn. There's also a Prophet of Tides option. I don't think it's going to be the right time for that. I think if this were me, I'll tell you what I would do. I would just double basic out to the right and start harvesting there and threatening that side of the board.
Yeah, it's interesting in this type of a matchup of blue versus yellow events. When you have this Triton Warrior, generally as yellow, you want to start with something like your Charger and be able to use that early in the game instead of these Shaitan Demons, again, sitting in kind of no man's land where they can't do a lot. But in this type of situation, you really don't want that Charger, because then the Triton Warrior is going to clear it very easily with the Prophet of Tides. So Shaitan Demon actually ends up being pretty good in this type of situation. And now we see the training also used to clear off the Prophet of Tides here, and another demon comes down on the far side to contest this warrior, really wherever it jumps to.
Arianel would really love some source of 1 damage, whether it be Emperor's Command or Falcon Eye, whichever he might run in this blue deck, which would not be surprising. Yeah, Arianel went all in with the right harvesting. Not only did he just move the Triton over there, he Prophet of Tide it over there, he surfed it over, and then double harvested that turn. But of course, King Dan's had a great answer for that, so Arianel has difficult decisions to make. He has a Forbidden Library that he can't play for 2 turns. He has a Colossus that he could play for 6 this turn. 7/7 for 6. That's not bad. The problem is there's a 6 attack demon on the left side of the board, and he has no great answer for that unless he wants to go ahead and expend one of those Ninja Toads right now. He'd have to make a land for that, a lake specifically, but he can harvest while he does it and make it only cost 3. But once again, would much rather have a Falcon Eye or an Emperor's Command.
Yeah, looks like the Ninja Toad is going to be the play here, just because it really is the only option that Arianel had. Playing the Colossus for 6, you really don't have a great protected position there that your opponent doesn't gain some value out of clearing it. Last Nightmare is exactly even, but you still have better board pressure. We know that Campfire is in King Dan's hand, so the 6-1 maybe could have taken care of it, or if it was in the bottom right corner, Shaitan Demon and something like a Wind Soldier or a Soul Drain just represents killing off the Colossus pretty much wherever it's played. So like Arianel continuing to play slow, he has the movement advantage with the Warrior on the side here, so just going to continue to double collect and reduce that Colossus down.
Yep, and by that play, it also gets him closer to the Forbidden Library. He could play it next turn if he wants, until, if that's the longer that's on the board, the further behind King Dan's is going to get until he's able to deal with it. So certainly playing that's very tempting to do. He could just, like you're saying, move forward with the Triton Warrior, get that Colossus down to 5, and you know what? If he just plays a lake really, in his opponent's face, drops that Colossus this turn and drops the Forbidden Library, that's a huge threat to King Dan's. He's going to receive pressure from a lot of different angles, from both card advantage and value, and also just threat to his face. But he did wisely play the Windstorm Charger in a position where it can help defend along with the Shaitan Demon. So odds are, if he does drop a Colossus really close, he'll probably be able to deal with both the Triton and that.
This looks like a situation where Arianel would love to have another Prophet of Tides. He could use the Triton Warrior, then move it right into the middle, jump across, and either deal with the Ranger or the Charger, and then heal that creature up with the Mirror Phantasm, transform it into a 5/5, and then you put a lot of pressure out onto the board with the 2 5/5s. Looks like he's just going to go for the Colossus here and maybe play the Library like you were saying. Not sure if he goes for the Ninja Toad as well, or if you want to keep that for a better spot, but it's looking really awkward for Arianel right now if King Dan's is able to find an answer for this Colossus.
He does play the Library, and he had, I think, one of two spots he could have put it. It was either that or the space above. But of course, if he puts it above, that hurts his harvesting ability. So elected for that spot. We'll have to see how that works out. The longer that's on board, the more value there will be. But with a deck like King Dan's is using, it won't be difficult for him to deal with a Library that close to his orb. He's just going to need a little bit more land, maybe a movement trick here and there, and then it's no big deal. In the meantime, like we were saying, can he deal now with both of these threats put next to his orb with that clever Windstorm Charger placement? Well, in this case, all it's going to take is a Campfire on the Shaitan Demon. Oh, it's okay. He's not going to use the Windstorm Charger at all. In fact, he couldn't have got the Windstorm Charger. He'd have to use the Wind Soldier as well, but instead he elected to play the Colossus. So, in the end, left with a 6 attack creature and a 7 attack creature next to a Colossus, and Arianel still with no 1 damage.
Yeah, this is a really good play by King Dan's there. Even though he plays the Colossus for 7, it's still a situation where you're able to get a good denial of value from your opponent. You're able to block the Colossus positioning. Even if it kills off the Demon, you have the Wind Soldier to follow up. But now we see a really good pickup from Arianel. Gets that Aurora, means he can reset the Colossus to a 7/7 if he wants to, after clearing off the 6/1 of the Demon, or he can go for, the Mirror Phantasm onto King Dan's Colossus as well.
Ninja Toad starting off collecting on the right. Is he going to use Aurora on that Ninja Toad? He could profit it to the left this turn. Looks like he's going to just hop it forward here. Drawing afterwards. Spell World a little bit unconventional drawing. Where does he get? A Ludoin, and it's a Gabriel Commander, so nothing too game-changing at this point. Some creatures he can harvest with, and there goes the 6/1 from that Ninja Toad, saving that Aurora, and this Mirror Phantasm allows the Colossus to survive with 2 health. But as we know, there's a Wind Soldier in hand.
Yeah, it does end up being, still looks like a little awkward because it leaves the 7/2 of the Colossus instead of resetting to a 6/6 of the Aurora, if that was the play that Arianel had chose to go for. Just because this does represent getting killed off by the Charger at the same time, but Wind Soldier can also come down, and then Shaitan Demon can be played, and that looks like a really good clear onto the Phantasm.
It's worth noting that Spell World was a mythic Spell World, and both those creatures drawn are mythic creatures. There goes the Colossus to the Wind Soldier as expected. He's defending with that Windstorm Charger. Ooh, okay, yep. I'm going to use that Aradron Fanatic to move that Windstorm Charger over to the Library, deal with it while he can. He's going to lose value, though, on this Mirror Phantasm.
Yeah, and because of the demons that were out early for King Dan's, he has burned down a little bit to 14. Mirror Phantasm is going to set that to 9 if Arianel chooses to attack the orb here. But we've already seen 2 Ninja Toads played, so it's not like a situation when you're facing mono red and you're concerned about those flame bursts coming out. You've seen that burst come from your opponent now, and you're not really concerned that you're going to die really at any moment.
Yeah, and King Dan's with a 3 attack creature next to the opponent's orb. It's the only offense he has to deal at this time. Arianel, what answers are available? Do you think the Ludoin will come down this game? Do you think we'll see a harvesting Ludoin? Well, it's certainly possible. In fact, it could happen this turn with the Phantasm clearing off the 2/4. And then, why not drop a Ludoin in the forward position? You could even put it in the double harvesting position if you want, and just get value off the Ludoin. At this point, you have plenty of cards that can answer a lot of different things. Battletoads, for instance, that's a great answer for a 2-health creature. Doesn't play it in range of the Outland Ranger unless it moves to attack the orb, though, which is certainly a possibility.
Yeah, it's interesting in that spot. King Dan's really looking for his end game, finding the other Colossus. He's not in a position where he's pushing a lot of damage that Arianel would feel like he's behind enough that he couldn't go for the Ludoin there. I think it's still at a reasonable enough position. You could have tried for that type of play and get that value over the course of the rest of the game here.
Yeah, and he could have moved this Mirror Phantasm straight up instead of to the left. Now, if
the Charger was on that position. When he moved over, he attacked into the
Oh.
Windstorm Charger, so he would have had to
You're
stay
right.
on the lake that the Battletoads was ended up being played on, or he wouldn't have been able to kill off the Charger there.
Yeah, no choice there then if you wanted the Battletoad there for certain. Who am I to question Arianel here? Offensive Shaitan Demon played next to the Outland Ranger. That's 8 damage next to face, 15 left. That's a 2-turn clock if you're counting. For Arianel's life total. Prophet of Tides could change some of this. Of course, I think we're going to see this frog clear off one of these 3/2s at least.
Yeah, and going for that very cute little movement with the Flash Wind there that we usually see these yellow event players go for, of attack the orb and then move back to collect off the well.
Right. Aurora, we're probably going to have to see come out sooner rather than later. There's too many threats. There's just too many threats next to Arianel's face. He's running out of life. He's going to have to put some sort of sticky answer against King Dan's threats. And, Battletoad trading off is a good start, but he needs something else. So he has a lot of different options he could use, including 2, but not limited, Prophet of Tides. Certainly Aurora, like we're saying, Aurora would allow this Battletoad to stick around. Ooh, is he going to go offensive instead? I suppose that's an option as well. I didn't even do that math.
The Prophet could move the other Battletoad into an aggressive jump position, and then you Aurora body blocks from one of the Rangers here. Your opponent has to create land, so you're in a position where you're looking at creatures that you can't deal with at your orb and not going to win the race here. So King Dan's might have kind of left an opening for Arianel, and looks like he's going to exploit it.
Yeah, this is playing to win. You have all these threats next to your face, but look, this turn you can put your opponent at 4, and what answers are King Dan's going to have available for a 6/6? Choking Sand is definitely not it. That's going to be game just from that play. There's 8 damage available when you Choking Sands away. That was a Prophet of Tides, 5 damage to face, but this 6/6 frog is enough to finish it. Arianel with the game sense to recognize when it was time to attack, unlike me who was thinking about defending, which is often my reflex. And there we go, tied up 1-1 in this best of 5. Both players' starting decks are eliminated. No more yellow events. King Dan's will need to answer this blue deck.
Yeah, and that's the old saying of give an inch and they'll take a mile. King Dan's just leaves a little window of opportunity for Arianel in that spot to push some aggression, and he finds exactly what he needed to set up a lethal play. We'll have to see now what King Dan's goes for, because we've only seen a 3-0 from him.
Yeah, on stream we've only seen a 3-0. We know he's had 2 other 3-1s previously in the tournament. Somehow some players were able to take a game off of him. It's not supposed to happen. There must be a bug in his code. We'll see what he brings out to show us. I want to see 3 wishes. That's what we know he's done it before. He's brought 3 wishes before. I don't really expect it, to be honest. Okay, so we're going to see a blue deck with 2 spell wills in the starting hand. That's going to lead to an interesting start if he chooses to keep those.
So interesting, kind of just of a theory craft of what the lineup is then. King Dan's going for a mirror match instead of going to set up whatever his third deck would be. So you're really looking at taking a 50-50. You got to wonder what that final deck is, if King Dan's has brought just a mono green, something along those lines, or if it's a mono red that he doesn't think can compete with this blue. But opting into a 50-50 rather than his third deck is very interesting.
Yeah, and King Dan's is going to go with the double spell whirl start. So he's looking for some kind of harvester, some kind of early harvester. Emperor's Command, Wave Crash, it's not what you want. He's going a little bit of a gamble here to see if he gets something that he can use early on. Going with the Explorer first, putting that lake in the harvesting position. And, okay, Ancient Herald, he can work with that.
That's a really good one.
And he does
Aurora's Dream is not what you want to see there. Lore Thief can be very good, and depending on what King Dan's is running, if he has Mirror Phantasms like we saw out of Arianel, it's a very good card that you can pick up. But in this situation, Ancient Herald is a great pickup.
Yeah, so I'd say middling, a good result from those 2 spellers. About as good as you could expect. Pretty average, I'd say. The Aurora's Dream, I don't think we'll see this game. Gabriel Commander, maybe not so great with his deck, but Lore Thief is always good, and yeah, Ancient Herald can always eke some value out of that. So Arianel will deal with this by just putting himself in a double harvesting position. Not really much else to do. He's working up to a library, working up to be able to play those Mystic Beasts.
Yeah, Water Elemental, really good pickup for King Dan's here. right now wishing he had a library in his hand because he'd be able to play it on this turn. But also, Ancient Herald is a very slow creature, as much as it does have good stats in the big body against the smaller creatures that we're going to see coming out in the early game here from Arianel. Getting the extra land development from your water elemental should be pretty good here for King Dan's, and then gets that jump so he can keep up with Arianel's creatures.
Does go for that Gabriel Commander before he draws a card, just in case he draws. Oh no, just going for 3/3 there, so it can still harvest. The commander can from the right side. It does die to the toad though, or to the frog. They mutually destroy each other, unfortunately.
Very interesting in that spot that King Dan's goes for the 3/3 Lore Thief, I guess looking just to survive in the early game, rather than going for the draw in a situation where he could have procced the ability from the commander to turn it into a 5/3. When Arianel has these 2/2s that trade very efficiently into the 4/2. It just seemed a very odd sequencing, unless King Dan's just misclicked on the options, but I would have expected to see kind of the error emote come out of him if that was the case.
I was expecting the draw there. It seemed the way he played it that he would just draw for a Colossus or something, but no. Perhaps calculated, perhaps playing against 1 damage abilities or things like that. Either way, a 3/3 for 3, against blue, it's going to come out eventually doing something worthwhile. In the meantime, Arianel establishing that forward land presence, putting himself in a position where Mystic Beast can be played not this turn, but later. He still wants to get the Forbidden Library out. He's only had 2 lakes. Colossus is down to 7. So I think what we're going to see is just this frog replace the position of the last frog and continue to double harvest from the right side as he ramps up.
Yeah, we see actually a really nice movement there from Arianel, moving that Battletoads down, because I already mentioned it does take a very valuable trade against the 4/2. In this situation, it actually also sets up blocking the collection from the 4/2. So now it is Arianel controlling the right side, King Dan's controlling the left. We'll have to see kind of what the follow-up is from both players. I would probably expect to see the Battletoads come out from King Dan's here, just if he wants to protect the commander by moving it away versus just taking the bad trade.
Yeah, going to protect him. Going to protect that commander who has the potential for a little bit more value. If the right draw comes along, Battletoads of his own coming out, further protecting that commander, tucking him away in his elbow. Arianel doesn't really have a way to deal with that. He can just trade off. He's a Phantasm in hand, and he could turn the frog into a 5/5, which of course would provide more value. There's nothing really extremely swingy that either player could do at this point, because especially for Arianel, because there's just a lot of units to work through, so he's got a lot to chip away from, but he does have the value in hand that can eventually do it. He's going to have to start by playing a lake and just getting those Mystic Beasts out, getting those Colossus out, and of course, getting the library out.
Yeah, it's still because he's developed all the prairies to extend his lands as fast as possible. Another turn away from the library here, so Mystic Beast is a very strong body coming down. Mirror Phantasm looked like it could have done some good there to get value from the forwardmost Battletoad, but then you really don't have a good protected position for your Phantasm with the 2 lakes that Arianel has directly in front of his orb, especially with that Ancient Herald on the left that could have picked up quite a bit of value from that. So not sure if we'll see that. We actually see a defensive Colossus. This means if King Dan's is able to find a Frogify, he's going to pick up a lot of value here.
A little bit risky of a Colossus there, but he does have more Colossus in his deck. King Dan's, on the other hand, has a few options here. He wants to deal with that 4/5 next to his orb. He could deal with that easily with something like an Emperor's Command, trading with that commander. He still did not draw anything to trigger that commander with, so we could certainly see something like that. No lands will be made, though, so the frog will have to hop away if he... I say that as soon as I say that. Water Elemental is played, so the frog does trade with the frog, and now has the option to use that Emperor's Command. Won't be able to harvest, unfortunately, with that Gabriel Commander, because it is aquatic and there is no lake next to that well. So there it is. I can't imagine he would ever pick Gain 4 life. Then we would know he's accidentally clicking the wrong thing. And there we have it. King Dan's establishing board control next to his orb, and Arianel stuck with a Colossus next to his own.
Yeah, it just would have been so good for King Danzer if he would have been able to get the trigger onto the commander. Either wouldn't have had to use the command or would have survived after using the command. So just such a big swing in that situation of having that creature survive or having that card remain. Arianel now in a position where it could use the library, could just reinforce with another Mystic Beast in the corner there, or Mirror Phantasm onto the Battletoad and reinforce the power that it has.
Yeah, so I think we're just going to see Arianel continuing to do what he's been doing all game long. He now can play the library. There's the second Mystic Beast. It's in range to kill that 3/3 Mirror Phantasm to even turn that frog into a 5/5. And finally, we see the Forbidden Library come out in the same exact spot as it was last game, if I remember right.
Yeah, I believe it was in exactly that same spot. We do just see Arianel pushing as much power up the board as he can, almost putting into a race situation and having that Colossus as the defender instead of what we usually see, which is Colossus aggressive and some of your smaller creatures stay behind as your defenders. So very interesting the way that this has played out, but does represent a lot of damage on the upcoming turns.
This is a difficult game to play. Like, putting myself in the shoes of either one of these players, this is when you have this many tokens on the board, this many creatures and one structure on the board. There's so many different possibilities you can do, especially when you take into account that each player has a hand of cards to also use. So here comes the Ninja Toad that deals with that library before it can even do 1 ounce. Provide 1 ounce of value, and he answers with his own Forbidden Library. So Arianel is going to look to do something very similar to that. Unfortunately, his hand is full of Frogifies. 3 beefy creatures, though, for Arianel that King Danz will have to chip through. He could choose to destroy any one of them with just these 2 units. But after that, he spent all his Faeria. Aurora's Dream is not going to be played, and he just has to choose here. I wonder if he chooses the 5/5 over the 4/5 just because of the extra damage, or if he chooses the 4/5 because of the jump. What do you think?
I think you have to kill the 5/5 here. I think he had already done the movement, so that was the only creature within range anyway.
Okay,
but it was, in my head, it was a debate of do you attack or not attack and keep all the creatures there to body block. But then I think everything remains with 2 life, and that just seems really bad as well. So in a situation here where Arianel, again, could push that damage, it is just 4, like you mentioned, with the Mystic Beast, but doesn't draw into any extra movement that he could have gone and killed off King Dan's Forbidden Library here. So what is the follow-up? The Warrior?
He could just shift gears here and say, okay, your library lives, and just hit the face, let him do the 2 damage himself every turn. He's got decent pressure. Yeah, decent pressure right here next to his face. Clears that Ninja Toad, and yeah, here's the 4/4 follow-up. This Colossus is defensive, but hey, not the end of the world. He can destroy that 5/6 next turn if he moves up. Good positioning there, and he answers with a second library of his own. So if this plan fails, where he's not able to win a race or he's not able to finish the deal, he has this Forbidden Library to fall back on, this value to stay toe-to-toe with King Danz's.
Yeah, it does set up a really good, finally finding the Frogify there. Could use it on the Colossus, but you're not really sure if it's in enough of a position to be aggressive, or if you need to use it in a defensive enough spot. Also, if you are going to use that Frogify, you don't really have a good follow-up, so maybe it's just a situation of jumping across to clear the already damaged creature there, and then just re-establish these Battletoads so that you can then follow up with a Frogify next turn.
Yeah, answering with the Battletoads, gonna potentially take 8 more damage, which is very significant when there's no Dream Reaver in hand or anything like that, or Radiance, and you have a library out on the field. That's a guaranteed 10 damage if he wants it. He could take King Dan's to 4 health this turn if he chooses to. Even lower if he wants to waste a Mirror Phantasm, but I don't think that's necessary. So, I mean, yeah, it could just be simple as doing that and harvesting with your Colossus. You don't think at this point that your opponent has a Frogify, I think, because you would think that he would have done it by now, but that's not necessarily the case. And
he's going to Frogify the Herald just to try to keep as many creatures alive. I was wondering in that spot if the Mirror Phantasm would have been better. It does push 1 damage extra, and then you only need the Mirror Phantasm to survive. But even in this situation, you really just need to ensure that every creature that you have either gets traded into inefficiently by your opponent or survive so that you can win next turn, or if it is inefficient trades, you win in 2 turns from the Forbidden Library of King Dan's just burning himself down. But I really don't see a way that now King Dan's wins. Has the Frogify, but doesn't have any way to block all of these creatures, especially with the jump.
It's just a matter of having enough health at this point. He's down to 4. He has his own library working against him. He has a card to deal with it. He has the Emperor's Command, which he could destroy his own library with, or heal himself, which would be the equivalent of 2 turns of getting rid of the library. He is going to use it to heal himself, so there's an extra 2 turns. Unfortunately, well, so the good thing is, yeah, King Dan's has played in such a way where Arianel cannot move this Triton Warrior to the left. Is there an answer? I haven't looked yet. No. So because of this land placement, there's no way that King Dan's can hit the orb with both Triton Warriors. So it's only 6 damage this turn. King Dan's lives with 2 health and has 1 more turn.
Yeah, will survive for a turn here. Now picking up Battletoads. Colossus also very good. Trying to think back in the way that this game has played out. I not only don't think that King Dan's has picked up a 7-cost creature in the entire time since he's played the commander. I don't think he's drawn a creature over 5 life that ever triggered the discount from Ancient Herald either.
I think you're right. Yeah, I don't recall. Was that Colossus? I don't think it was. I think he had that before that even. It's hard to say. But yeah, and I think at this point, King Dan's, as far as answers he can possibly have after this, I mean, sure, he can survive this turn. And have 2 health left afterwards, but what is he possibly going to do? He needs to play the Aurora's Dream. That's what really needs to happen. Unfortunately, he's a few very short of that, so without any taunt creatures in his deck, but more importantly, without any healing. He just loses from the Forbidden Library damage healing, so it may be at this point where he's just letting it play out, seeing what his opponent is going to play, the cards his opponent has, even though he probably could guess some of them. Oh, and instead of actually... Oh my goodness! He gave him the opportunity. So okay,
does that change it?
It's a small.
I think it's still more than lethal.
Yeah, I think it is. But instead of dealing, the face damage to put him at 2 to guarantee the win afterwards, now Radiance is drawn. But yes, there is still a lot of face damage present. Okay, so he's gonna block with the Radiance. He goes to 12. You can pretty much say that'll be 10. So can Arianel do 10 damage next turn is the question. And from this placement, he cannot because of the same issue as before. Aurora doesn't change things.
Now, Aurora is now... Oh, no, it doesn't have the Faeria for the Frogify and the Aurora here, but it's still more than enough. Frogify going to kill the Radiance and then push 11 damage, and the Forbidden Library will deal the killing blow to King Dan's at the start of his turn here.
Not able to get the kill with his units, but of course the Forbidden Library finishes it off. And yes, I feel like that was a little bit closer than it needed to be by not going for a face there. It made it a little more interesting at the end, and Radiance opened up some possibilities. But yes, 2-1 now for Arianel in the Grand Finals.
Arianel
1 more, and he takes the match.
King Dan's 2 losses, the exact same amount he has faced in the entirety of the day so far. We'll have to see if King Dan's can pull this back and go for the reverse sweep, or if Arianel will be able to close it out and finish the sweep of his own after losing game number 1.
Yep, and this is it, match point for Arianel. He's going to use that same deck, starting with the Spell Whirl, and King Dan's with a green deck and Time of Legends.
Very interested to see what that Time of Legends is in here for, unless it is just Tethra, the kind of expected green legend, or if it is looking for something like an Eredin in the early game, like we saw earlier in the green-yellow sack.
Well, I think he's going to keep us in suspense. He's not playing it right away. It could be a multicolored deck as well. We're actually not too sure. We'll see what Arianel gets from his Spell Whirls this time. I'm sure he'll use it right away, along with that Water Elemental. And it is a Mythic Spell Whirl that gives him a Mythic...
Oh, my goodness.
Mythic Prophets.
Prophet of Tides are great cards to find off of your Spell Whirls. Of course, there are other creatures that could be just as impactful, but the extra movement in the early game is going to be incredible. Earthcraft actually now coming out in King Dan's deck as well. I'm very interested if this is just a mono green or if it's got something else exciting happening. Maybe it's just a mono green with something like Garridan in it, and that's what the Time of Legends is used to pull for that extra AoE. But now seeing the Sturdy Shell,
It's three wishes.
It is what you wanted at Maz.
It is indeed. For a second, I thought it might be Apex, Green Blue Apex or something, but then he played a mountain, so it's either a misclick or it's three wishes. Arianel, those Prophet of Tides are good, but against a 1/7, it's not even 3 turns before you destroy it, and there's you don't want to frogify that. So this really is not anyone's game at this point. King Dan is going to ramp up to his 2/2/2/2 special lands. Get those 3 wishes out, start drawing blue cards, start healing himself, play all kinds of dragons, play Time of Legends, who cares?
Yeah, I think Time of Legends still will be really good in this spot, whether it's pulling Aurora, if it is more of the green-blue, or because he went for that mountain, still makes me think it is running like a Garridan in here for that AoE clear. Should be very good, although King Dan's looks currently like he's not going to have the Faeria to play it, but it's interesting to point out here as well, even though we see the Sturdy Shell, Arianel has only seen 2 forests, 1 mountain. Now, Living Willow, you generally, I don't think, would expect to see in Green-Red Crackthorn, but that is currently the land development of your opponent. It is thinking that it is Crackthorn deck coming out here.
By all accounts, this looks like a Crackthorn deck could look. Now, if he starts playing some of these cards, it's going to be strange, and certainly if he plays the Sturdy Shell, it will tip his hand, but at this point, Arianel may not know exactly what he's up against. Either way, moves that Water Elemental to the offensive position, already harvesting from his opponent's well, getting that Wave Crash Colossus to tick down, putting himself in a spot where he can make an offensive lake to put down the Colossus when it's ready, put down Mystic Beasts when he draws them, so on and so forth. Now, King Dan's options, unfortunately, because he has the 3 wishes deck, means that his draws are going to be highly variant. He's going to have a lot of different tools coming at him every turn that he may not necessarily be able to play. There's the lake, so I think at this point he tips his hand, plays no creature, opens himself to be hit for 3, but probably won't happen because I think we'll see double harvesting. No, I'm wrong.
Oh, it really depends on how much Arianel reads into this. Now, having seen your opponent play the mountain and now seeing a lake, you should know that it's 3 wishes. And with the aggressive hit from the Water Elemental, I would not be surprised if we see the Wave Crash come down right in front of the orb of King Dan's here, even though it still is a 6 cost. Could go for a lake there and Triton Warrior and Battletoads, but you really don't want to run yourself into an AoE of Garridan if that is what your opponent has in hand.
Yeah, so the weakness, and there's Garridan, the weakness of 3 wishes, of course, is that it is very vulnerable in the early game. Arianel picking up on this, capitalizing on it right away, putting 10 damage next to face. Yes, there is a Garridan here, which is a great answer. One of the greatest answers you could ask for right now, but still, he'll have some damage coming into his orb next turn. There's the Garridan, there's the fire raining from the sky. And a 7/4 Colossus is left behind.
Yeah, this is going to be a little awkward now because Arianel does have the Frogify. He can try to get some more value out of reducing the power of Garridan here so it can't clear the Colossus. But it looks like Arianel is now getting a bit punished for how quickly he was playing. Now, of course, you're playing against 3 wishes. You have to play as quick as possible before they can really snowball the value of those 3 wishes once they're able to play them. But it does look like Arianel is in a position where he might need to reset a little bit here, either going for the trade himself by using the Prophet of Tides and then maybe a Triton Warrior play to follow up, or the Battletoads. Just needs kind of a board presence. Do what blue does best and outvalue, outcollect your opponent.
And something I want to point out, even though he top decked that Garridan last turn, he didn't even need to because he did have that Time of Legend still in hand, and I'm sure Garridan's his only red legend, so he could probably have just used it and pulled that Garridan to do that same exact play. Just so happens he didn't need to.
It could have backfired in that situation if it was an Aurora in here. If Aurora is sometimes run in these green-blue enchantment style of decks, depending on what you want your buffs and your removal to be. So, yeah, it would have been very interesting if he had gone for the Time of Legends hoping to get Garridan and got Aurora instead.
Yeah, you're probably right, actually. There are probably more than just Garridan in the deck, but Could he have not drawn it? He did have an option. Anyway, that didn't happen. Here comes an 8/10 Garrodan from Elderwood's Embrace, clearing off that Colossus, leaving a body behind that Arianel can't deal with what's on board. He'll have to use a Frogify if he wants to. But oh look, Frogify just became a little bit more enticing when you turn that into an 8/7. Doesn't necessarily need to do it this turn. He has 7 Faeria to work with, so he could certainly do that and Mystic Beast.
Yeah, I'm very surprised there the way that King Dan's buffed. I guess that is you're playing into Frogify instead of playing into a movement trick coming out from your opponent. Again, if King Dan's was tracking, which we would expect that he would be at the high enough level to be tracking, he knows the Prophet of Tides that Arianel played earlier came off of a spell world, not naturally from the deck. So knows that there are a higher potential of having more Prophets to come out and use 2 of the Battletoads to kill off Garrodan in that spot. So just playing around it in that way instead of playing around the Frogify that we see Arianel having in hand.
Right. King Dan's, though, is kind of in a spot where he'd like to be, which is where his opponent is answering him instead of him answering his opponent in a spot where you're playing the greedier deck. That's always nice because the later the game goes on, the more advantage you're probably going to have. Now it gets a little bit trickier when you consider things like Forbidden Libraries coming out, but all in all, his deck wants late games to happen. There are no 3 wishes in hand yet, and he still isn't in range to play them, so he has a few turns left to survive, left to continue to double harvest here on this left side. This Willow, all game long, just been a harvesting fiend. I think we're going to have to see... I think at this point you have to make one of your final lands. There's the lake, yep, and hope you draw 3 wishes soon. And once that happens, you're going to be really, really happy. There's this 4/5 to deal with in the meantime.
Yeah, having this type of a situation where you have the 4/5 right beside the Piper, and King Dan's doesn't instantly go for the Time of Legends, it makes me think Aurora isn't in the deck. So that ends up being just, I guess, a dead card at this spot. Tiki Piper looks like it's going to come down, I guess, should buff itself or the other one so that you play into an enchantment setup, but...
The fact that he did not play Time of Legends last turn is interesting because, like you were saying earlier, if there's an Aurora in the deck and he just played Garrodan, then he could guarantee an Aurora draw. But that means either that he didn't have Aurora, or... Cappuccino
just reminding us that King Dan's deck he just played was blue and would have had Aurora in that. So no chance of seeing that card in this deck.
Yeah, there you go. Simple math. It works out. So yeah, there's no Aurora in this deck. I guess he could still have a Cullen or something like that. It's the only one I guess I would expect otherwise. But yes, that explains it. Mystery is solved. Arianel now has units that he can easily destroy to deal with. At least, if he wants to spend the Emperor's Command on the 1/5, he could. Is he going to do that?
I probably would do it on the 1/1 and then push some more face damage here.
Sure, yeah. That makes a lot more sense.
Just because of the way that your opponent's playing, that Piper seemed like a very desperate play to keep one of these alive. You're really only playing around enchantment. You want to try to end the game before the 3 wishes comes out on what could be this next turn. But very interesting that King Dan's has this Lore Thief in hand. Generally, this is a deck that, in my experience of playing, doesn't struggle with card draw. You have Earthcrafts that we saw earlier. We saw it should run Gabriel Enchantments, which also allows you to cycle deeper into the deck. But just in a spot that a card that I wouldn't normally expect to see, really unfortunate. There still has the Power Wheel available, so could go for a lake for the Enchantress here. But finally being able to pick up that card.
This is just, there's 6 health left. How can you possibly... I think you have to Enchantress or you lose.
You have to Enchantress, I believe, exactly above the Mystic Beast. Otherwise, Arianel has the movement with the Prophet of Tides and the Triton Warrior to still push through 6 damage. I believe that is the only position, unless Arianel draws into another movement trick, that is the only spot available for that Battletoad to then move to and hit the orb.
But then there's a Prophet of Tides in hand for Arianel that King Dan's is not aware of. He's going to have to play the Enchantress next to his orb in order to survive. Like we were talking about, he can still...
Yes, I didn't even consider the fact that you could have replaced the Prairie just to the right there with the Enchantress, but this does go for this line.
Right, so... This still protects him. He still won't die with what's on board. And, Prophet of Tides will not be enough. So he can survive with 2 health. for one more turn, and that may be just all he needs. If he just draws a 3 wishes, this could turn around completely. This game is on a knife's edge. At this point, do you clear the 5-1 with the 2-2?
I think, yeah, you clear that 5-1 away, just because if you don't, the 5-1 clears your 4-4, the Enchantress 2-5 clears your 2-2, and you have nothing left in that spot. Ninja Toad now picked up, just lacking on the Faeria for Arianel, otherwise could have cleared and then used the Ninja Toad as well, but 4-4 still push orb damage.
No.
And that's you. Oh no, that is!
No, that's it, yeah, because he just clears the 2, or he just uses the frog to clear the board, plays the Ninja Toad off the top of the deck next to the enemy as well, taking King Dan's to 0 health. That is a 3-1 for Arianel. King Dan's, who has been 3-1 or 3-0 this entire tournament, had it flipped around on him, and Ninja Toad to the face means Arianel wins $1,500 as the first place finisher today. King Dan's, of course, no slouch. $1,000 for second place. Both of these players are winners. At this point, they're just putting on a show for us for a little extra moolah. But what a series it was. Just this whole tournament, as always. Great matches all around. I have nothing more to say. I think that those matches speak for themselves.
Yeah, unbelievably well played by Arianel to lose the first game against that yellow events that, just looking at the bracket, King Dan's played beautifully throughout the course of the day, only losing the 2 games like we talked about, and then to bring it back with that blue deck from Arianel and take 3 straight games, just absolutely incredible in that situation. Great plays by him. Individual lines throughout the course of those games were absolutely magnificent, and yeah, just King Dan's, again, another finals appearance, and unfortunately comes away with another second place finish. Arianel with another finals appearance, able to close it out and take his second monthly cup win.
And as we mentioned before, last month these 2 players met earlier in the bracket, and we had the same result, 3-1 last month as well for Arianel. So King Dan's having a little bit of a problem beating Arianel lately.
Yeah, that does seem like it is turning into what could be a really good grudge match into the upcoming monthly cup, whether it is next month they meet again or the month after, whenever their next meeting is. It turns into the, well, I gotta win, otherwise you're going to start getting that kind of mindset of I'm never going to be able to beat this player. So, but great final series. Thank you, Hamas, so much for joining in on the cast. We're going to throw it back over to the desk.
Team Faeria Tail once again wins another monthly cup. How are you going to stop this team, guys? You can't let them take all the prize money. Come on, guys. King Dan's was so close to winning his first monthly cup, but once again, the roadblock of another player was there. First it was Modnik, now it's Arianel, and Arianel becomes our 2-time monthly cup champion, joining fellow teammate Mayhem as a 2-time monthly cup champion. Cappuccino, what are your thoughts on that series?
Yeah, that was really cool just to see the decks that the players brought. We got to see a lot more, and especially just see King Dan's other 2 decks. Seeing that 3 Wishes deck, I wish we had seen just a little bit more to see if he had thrown any interesting cards in there. But I believe Radiance and Mythmaker were both in his blue deck, so a bit unfortunate he didn't have access to that. If he had used that Time of Legend, pull the Mythmaker for his 1/1, we could have seen potentially some strong plays come out of him, but with it being locked up in that blue deck, it was a bit unfortunate for him.
He did bust out the 3 wishes at the end. We were hoping for it, and we've just seen the amazing 3 wish support that we're getting in the next set. So just paving the road for potential 3 wishes decks in the future. But, Dan's, he didn't win this time, but he got second place. Arianel has proven to be a very strong opponent. And Dan's, of course, is a great player as well. So losing to Arianel, if I was Dan's, I wouldn't feel too hard on himself. I know he probably wants a monthly cup under his belt now, But I feel that he should be proud of what he's achieved today.
Yeah, and as you point out, a huge kudos to Arianel winning the monthly cup. And players got to start looking at his decks. What is this guy doing that is just so effective? And time again, he's just performing very well in these tournaments.
Yeah, excellent performance from both of them. And yeah, it was just fantastic to see this monthly cup play out. We had some exciting decks, some crazy upsets, some great matches. So overall, what a fantastic event. Before we head off, I am going to reveal to you guys again the cards. In case you missed it, I want you to see this fantastic legendary that's coming out in the near future. Yulani is going to be such an awesome addition to Free Wishes. We've just seen Dan's take it to second place, even though a lot of people are counting Free Wishes out at the moment. But this card here is going to give Free Wishes fantastic support in the future, along with all the other great cards we've spoiled. Now, do you feel that Free Wishes is a competitive contender in the current metagame?
I don't know if I wanted to mention this, but wasn't Three Wishes 100% lose rate?
Oh, no, don't say that, Cappuccino.
No. But obviously, if you have the second place finisher bringing it to a tournament, it is a deck that he has to respect as a strong deck then. So, yeah, I'm going to be really curious to see what these new cards can do in decks like Three Wishes that get to benefit from going all the colors. So, can definitely do a lot of different strategies with Three Wishes, because we've seen in the past, like, people do sack variants, people do just value cards, people go really late game and have like Crackthorn in Three Wishes or Soul Eater in Three Wishes. So maybe we can start seeing some new versions of Three Wish.
Yeah, Event Wishes is a deck doctor I covered in the past as well, which Lou came up with. So just so much flexibility with that archetype. Now let's take a look at the final bracket for today. King Dan's coming right away with second place, taking $1,000. But Arianel, our monthly Cup 12 champion, taking $1,500 yet again. So two-time monthly Cup champion Arianel. Sunkichi taking fourth place, a Japanese representative in this monthly Cup. Well done to him. Very happy to see Japan on the map in the competitive scene. And of course, Mino Karo taking $500 home with him, and taking third place, and seeing that practice, that commitment to the game paying off and getting a top 4 spot. So that does wrap up this monthly cup. You've seen some great games, you've seen some great cards as well, so I'm very excited to see what another year of monthly cups will bring us in the future. Any last words from you, Cappuccino, before we sign off?
Oh, just thanks again for having me on. It was a blast to cast, and look forward to more tournaments to cast.
Scorch, any final words?
No, it was a great day as always. I think we saw some really cool decks brought out by the players. It wasn't just kind of the big 3 that we usually expect to see, or maybe big 4 that we usually expect to see. Awesome to see Minokaro do great with that green-yellow rush. Unfortunate to see King Dan's bring out the wishes and not get any progression, any wins on that deck. But a great day as always with the cup here.
Shotgun, if you're still about.
Yeah, no, I find that this monthly cup was great again, and I hope that we'll see many more monthly cups. And also, casting the biggest upset probably in Faeria monthly cup history was a treat.
Zolagram.
Good job, Screen.
Zolagram, any final words?
I don't know. Sadly, I did not get to cast the biggest upset of the monthly cup history, but I still had a ton of fun as always, and I think we saw some really amazing matches tonight. On the other hand, I think it's still safe to say that the big 3 decks are still going very strong, although we did not see a lot of good showings from Crackthorn at least, but at least mono blue and yellow events still seem to dominate, and I'm really curious to find out how it will be going forward to the next monthly cup, and if there will be any changes or something that will upset this kind of balance.
Yeah, and Atmaz, any closing words?
1 year of monthly cups have passed, the 12th one. Oh, such a good feeling. And yes, shoutouts to Scream. And we actually didn't follow. Scream went on after he did win on stream against Teddy, one of the best players in the game. He did go on to lose only 3-2 to his next opponent. So he almost would have been in the quarterfinals, I think, which would have been amazing. But yeah, shoutouts to Scream, the community voted favorite for this month. I think the number 1 voted community favorite. Next week for you, we have a balance patch coming early in the week, as we mentioned earlier last Friday. That's in the immediate future. Of course, we revealed some Oversky cards for you today. You can expect some more stuff maybe coming your way soon TM, and all that stuff. Oversky is releasing this summer, so we do want to whet your appetite for what you can expect. Other than that, thank you very much to every single one of the casters today. Excellent job as always, and Nick Aquablad Secker for running production and doing such a good job. That's all I have to say.
All right, guys, thank you very much for your contribution. The casters, Atmaz, for putting on fantastic tournaments, and thank you very much to you viewers for sticking with us, tuning in, and giving us, well, basically 12 months of excellent competitive Faeria action. So until next time, guys, take care, and we'll see you around at Oversky.